This podcast contains graphic content. Listener caution is recommended. Specifically, today's episode of Choosing the Bear contains themes and discussion of rape, violence, abuse, and exploitation. Hello and welcome to Choosing the Bear, a true crime podcast. My name is Daniel and with me is my co-host / sister Lois, and today's episode is all about human trafficking. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening to you and to you, Lois.
Hiya.
Hi. I muted your mic straight away. I've got to fill the dead air while you burp. That's not ideal.
I've just had a singing lesson, so my throat is a little bit sore.
My throat is also a little bit sore, but not for singing lessons, because last night I nearly threw up.
Why?
Yeah, I ain't got a clue. I was actually in bed. It was about midnight, and I just shot up. My girlfriend was like, "You're right." I was like, "I don't know," and I started coughing loads, and I ran to the toilet, and I thought I was going to vomit.
That's horrendous.
Yeah, I know. It was grim.
That's awful. I hate when I wake up like in the night, like when I wake up from obviously sleep and feel sick because I know I'm going to be sick then, and that's when anxiety comes in.
The scaries.
That's when I get Scary Mary. So Daniel, what's been going on? What's the goss?
I'm going to be honest with you, Lois. Fuck all.
Oh.
This week has just been so like full on. I'm officially out of training now in my job.
Woohoo!
It's been a long old time, but which is crazy to be honest, because when this podcast started, I don't think I had started this job yet.
No.
I think I was about to start it, and now I'm in the job, and now I've just finished training, which is crazy. To be honest, like 20 weeks. Mm. Yeah, this podcast has documented my growth into the role. But yeah, so this is my first full week officially doing the job now without any training wheels on. And oh my God, is it long? Oh, Jesus. Every day I'm like, God, is this it? Is this really my life?
You've got this for the next, I don't know how many years. Too fucking many.
I don't think that was what you thought it was going to be in terms of support.
No, it's in terms of when you retire.
Yeah, exactly. That's not helping me in terms of support. With you, me going, this is a lot, and then you going, well, you've got a lot more of this to come down.
It's a fact. That's why I've...
Not exactly, because I can change career path when I want to. I don't have to be stuck doing... Exactly. So you're saying now, that says a lot about what you think of me. You say that you think that I'm going to be at the bottom level of this job for the rest of my life until I retire.
I mean, I didn't explicitly say that, though.
Nah, but it was all in the subtext.
Nor did I imply such a thought.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's been me. Nothing but work. Lagster. What's going on with you?
Well, I went to a concert. I went to go see Tate McRae. It was all right,
pop off.
to be fair. Everyone around me was like they were going to a fucking funeral, and I thought, girlies, what the fuck is going on around here? It was so dead. Like, honest to God. Just no one had no energy. I had a couple of drinky poos like before. So like me and my boyfriend were like, woohoo! But everyone around us was literally like they were attending a school lesson. I was like, what the fuck is going on?
Well, that's boring. I don't really know Tate McRae's music, so I can't really describe the vibe of what I'd expect, but I'm assuming not that.
Yeah, but you would expect people to at least have a bit of a dance or like sing
something. Fucking let's go, it's Tate McRae, everybody.
Have a bit of a boogie woogie woogs. Yeah. But yeah, she was good. Not anything against her, but I just don't know if I would go again. Partly probably because the energy was so fucking dead.
You don't sound that invested in it.
No, but it's like she performed Purple Lace Bra, which is one of my favourite songs that she's done. So
what is that?
That was lovely. That's a like a feminist anthem, so to speak.
Cool.
And then I've had a busy day today. I went to work. I had to have some physio, and then I had a singing lesson. So today I've not really fucking stopped.
It's busy Thursday.
But you know what? The grind doesn't stop, loves. And if you want that life, you have to fucking work for it. Hence why I'm here. Right here. Right now. We're going to talk about that fishing trip.
Right here. Right now.
This bad bitch
It was freezing cold. It was. How are you that cold?
Right. Shall we begin?
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't know if this is going to be split into two parts. We're going to see how we go, because this is, again, quite a fat one. It's 5,286 words. I have got a place to split it in the middle if necessary, which probably will be, because I don't think, like, last episode was around the same size as this, and it was an hour and 12 minutes.
Yeah, I think this is going to be split.
Probably. Right. Okay. Do you know what human trafficking is, Daniel?
I know the bare basics of it, yeah.
Human trafficking is when a person is recruited and then moved for exploitation. The act is reinforced by the use of threats, force, fraud, or abuse. In the dictionary, it is defined as, quote, the unlawful act of transporting or coercing people in order to benefit from their work or service, typically in the form of forced labour or sexual exploitation. And now, so to begin with, I've just done the definitions, by the way, because I'm going to be obviously saying these throughout the whole episode, so I thought I'd define them for the girlies. Exploitation. I'm also sorry about my voice. I feel like she is a bit... She's not really 100% there, but you know what?
I'm going to be honest with you. You sound the exact same.
Cool beans. Exploitation is defined as, quote, the action or fact of treating someone unfairly in order to benefit from their work. Modern-day slavery is defined as when an individual is exploited by others for personal or commercial gain. Whether they have been tricked, coerced, or forced, they will lose their freedom. Bloody Nora. In 2015, the Modern Day Slavery Act was implemented in the UK with the aims of ensuring perpetrators can receive punishments and reducing the amount of slavery. Antislavery.org claimed that in 2024, there were 19,125 potential victims of modern-day slavery in the UK. 23 were British nationals and 31% were children, meaning there were 5,999 potential child victims. The most common form of slavery was labour exploitation, followed by criminal exploitation, and we will go into more details about these in a little while.
Horrific statistics.
Yeah. Essentially 6,000 children put into modern-day slavery in the UK.
And also the term modern day slavery is just
awful.
Like abhorrent. Like, what the fuck, man? How is that still a thing kicking?
I mean, that's why it's modern day.
Well, thank you for defining modern day for me. But like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, what the fuck, man? That shit inherently is from the past, and it should have stayed in the past. It should never have been able to get to this point, let alone as far as it has.
Human trafficking isn't the same as people smuggling. People smuggling is when individuals pay a smuggler in order to gain illegal entry into a country. Trafficking is when a victim is forced or coerced into moving to be exploited. This doesn't exclusively mean moving to another country. A victim can be moved from one city to another or even across the street. If it's for the purpose of being exploited, it's human trafficking. I feel like that's a common, maybe not a misconception, but maybe what people don't necessarily understand is that human trafficking...
I think misconception's the right word.
Yeah, because it's not like... I mean, I'm not calling people dumb, because obviously at a point I probably thought this, but like, it's not moving someone from a country to a country, because that's typically what at least in the UK, you hear about typically Eastern Europeans who get trafficked to the UK, but you can get trafficked to your next door neighbour's house and you're still being trafficked. So just regardless of how far or not far you move, if the point is to be exploited, it's human trafficking. I can't get my fucking words out. God, now I'm going to Mrs. Brown's. I haven't watched that in a while. I might have to put it on tonight for a bit of comfort.
Oh no.
Throughout this topic, I'll be using the verb coerced. This means when an unwilling individual is persuaded to do something through the use of force and threats. Coercive control is the act or patterns of acts of assault, threats, humiliation, and intimidation, or other abuse that is used to harm, punish, or frighten the victim. It is a form of domination, asserting one's power over someone else's. Examples of coercive control include isolating, gaslighting the victim, as well as controlling what they eat, where, and who they spend time with. But they're just examples. Obviously, it goes further and deeper than that.
Mm-hmm.
Human trafficking is a human rights violation. Anyone can be a victim of trafficking, whether you live in a well-developed country or not. Quote, poverty, lack of education, unstable social and political conditions, economic imbalances, climate change, and war are key issues that contribute to someone's vulnerability in becoming a victim of modern slavery. End quote. The statistics show that men, women and children of any age can be affected, but there is a higher percentage of women and children. And I think that's the thing. I mean, obviously I'm talking about the UK because that's where we live. But like, it don't matter whether you live in a multi-million house and you have blah, blah, blah. You can still obviously be trafficked and put into slavery. It's not just exclusive for those who are from war-affected countries or I don't really want to say third world countries because I don't feel like that's very nice.
No, but no, I know the point you're making. Like, the stereotype is that it's always from those sort of areas, but it can happen anywhere.
Like underdeveloped countries.
Yeah.
Sexual exploitation is by far the most commonly identified form of human trafficking, 79%, followed by forced labour, 18%. Because it is more frequently reported, sexual exploitation has become the most documented type of trafficking in egregious statistics. This quote is from a global report that was published in February 2009. Statistics are thought to have changed, obviously. The numbers now are probably through the fucking roof. In 2022, 16,938 potential victims were referred to a service to be identified as survivors of trafficking and to receive support. 2022 was the highest year of referrals to the National Referral Mechanism since 2009. 52% of the referrals were from adults claiming they faced exploitation, while 41% were children. 78% were male and 21% were female. And that is in the UK.
It's shocking.
It's like literally like an underground, but it's not underground. As we'll go through, it's not underground. It's just, obviously, people don't recognise it.
Yeah,
some of it is underground. But
like I said earlier, everyone assumes it's always happening in other places, but it could be happening right under your nose.
Yeah, exactly. The following statistics are from Unseen UK, and I listened to a podcast about human trafficking a while ago, and the creator of Unseen UK, which is a obviously anti-trafficking charity, the CEO, I'm such a horrible person, I can't remember his name, but he did a podcast with Dodge Woodall. I don't know who that is either. And it was very insightful because he talked about obviously trafficking, why he started his charity, and it was a lot, but it's good. Like, these are things that people need to be aware of and educated of because like, it's happening. 50 million people worldwide are in modern slavery. 28 million are in forced labour. 22 million people are in forced marriages. Around 10,000 people in the UK are in modern slavery, according to the UK government. However, according to slavery experts, it's thought to be 122,000. Yeah, that's just awful, isn't it?
Yeah.
For the first time, female potential victims of modern slavery and exploitation exceeded males in 2024. There were 1,478 potential female victims and 1,306 potential male victims. Human trafficking is the third largest criminal enterprise globally. The drug trade is number one, followed by arms trafficking, which is guns. The Modern Day Slavery Act 2015, England and Wales, criminalises offences of slavery, trafficking and all forms of exploitation. The maximum sentence is life imprisonment with a minimum, while a minimum can be 14 years. It isn't known how many traffickers are prosecuted and subsequently imprisoned worldwide, as different countries have different definitions of what human trafficking entails, and victims can be reluctant to go through a trial to imprison them. A number of victims may also not report their situation to authorities out of fear of retaliation. This next statistic is fucking wild, but go ahead and say what you're going to say.
Yeah, so the countries that sort of deem it, like, have different sort of, I guess, eligibility for it. So does that mean that we could deem it saying, like, you're for example, I don't know, you're harbouring someone against their own will, but then another country, hypothetically, you're like, well, we don't see this as human trafficking. Is that essentially what that meant? Because that's wild. It's essentially like, let's break it down. Being like, if I murdered someone, the UK would be like, that's classed as murder. But then some other country could be like, well, we don't class that as murder.
Yeah.
That's essentially what that meant. Right, cool.
Yeah.
That's bizarre. Surely, like, again, using that murder example, the crime is the crime.
Yeah, because obviously, like, murder and, like, kidnapping and other crimes and stuff, they have, like, an internationally agreed definition, right. But human trafficking don't. I do have that for something else.
Interesting.
I remember writing that, but I can't remember what, but we'll get to it in this part or the next part. Hope for Justice, a non-profit anti-trafficking charity, said, quote, "We estimate that modern slavery and human trafficking generate illicit profits of well over $285 billion US every year.
Fuck.
This is around 182 billion pounds.
Profit?
Yeah.
Fuck me.
So worldwide.
I
don't know if that is worldwide or just US. I presume worldwide, but what the fuck? Is it? It's just like... And then you see the traffickers like living the high life and having all these homes and stuff, and at what fucking cost? No matter the age or work the individual is forced to undertake, the arrangement is, quote, sometimes structured as a work contract, but with no or low payments on or on terms which are highly exploitative. Individuals who have been trafficked to another country are also often placed into debt bondage, meaning the trafficker will claim the victim has to pay back the fees the trafficker paid to transport them, making the victim work until the debt is paid off. So basically, obviously, if you traffic someone from another country to a different country, the trafficker can or will say, I paid for your visa, I paid for your passport, I paid for your transport, I paid for your accommodation, so now you owe me. But the money that they claim that the victim owes is obviously substantially more than what they've paid to traffic them. So that's how they also trap them by saying, you have to pay me back for all these because I brought you here.
Yeah, that's crazy.
One of the most common judgments trafficking victims face is the question of why didn't they just leave? This is an ignorant question. If someone facing these conditions had the ability to just leave, they would. Victims are bombarded with threats and sometimes abuse that scare and intimidate them into not contacting anyone, let alone reach out for support. These threats can also extend to harming the victim's family. Victims are also groomed and given false promises. The promise of a better life, having the ability to provide for their family and/or accommodation are commonly used. The victim's documents, including their ID and passport, are confiscated. It isn't fair to ask a victim, why didn't you just leave? If they had the means to, they would. Trauma bonding can also...
Stupid question.
Yeah, it's just blatant, like, fucking ignorance.
What do you mean, man? I'm not here willingly. I'm not here because I want to be. If I could go, I fucking would.
Exactly.
It's like you say, it's ignorant, but like, use your brain, man.
And it's also the same. It's also the same for like abusive relationships as well.
Exactly. Use your head. If someone's in something, they're not here because they enjoy it. If they're complaining to you and saying it's abusive and those sort of things, and then you're like, well, why don't you just go? Why don't you think? Why don't you take a second before you ask that fucking stupid question, you moron? Yeah.
Why don't you just think logically and think, maybe they wanted to leave, but they didn't have the means to, or they're fucking petrified for their life. Yeah.
Have a little sit down with
trauma bonding. Carry on.
That was it. I was making a little joke, but don't worry.
Oh, sorry. Trauma bonding can also occur between the victim and trafficker. This is when the victim will develop an attachment to the exploiter or trafficker due to the manipulation and abuse. And I listened to another podcast around the start of this week, and it was about a victim of human trafficking, how she was in it for like a decade, and she trauma bonded with her trafficker. And I don't want to fully explain it because I can't remember how she worded it, but she said that like essentially trauma bonding is also like a chemical thing that happens in your brain where you like associate you misassociate things or something like that. Like, it's not just like a feeling of attachment. It's literally a chemical thing going on in your fucking brain, keeping you there. So, like, you know that they're obviously abusing you and etc., but your brain is bonded to that or to them. It's actually wild. The majority of trafficking victims can be forced to live in poor conditions. This can include living in cramped conditions as well as being overcrowded. The living space can also have no heat, water, or electricity. Victims can not be allowed to talk to anyone without being supervised, ensuring they're always monitored and also feeling pressured to not speak out of line. Victims can be coached on what to say when talking to professionals such as doctors, paramedics, police, or those with safeguarding responsibilities. We've got one paragraph and then we're going into the subsections.
Cool.
One myth regarding human trafficking is that only women and girls are victim of sex trafficking. It's thought that male sex trafficking victim statistics may be higher than reported, as male victims are less likely to be identified. However, anyone can be a victim of sex trafficking regardless of their gender. The traffickers see their body as a money-making machine.
I think that's a valid point. That they, obviously, I mean, of course, they don't see you as human, but like having it laid out to you bare, being like, they don't see you as human, they see you as a money-making machine, summarizes what their entire sort of outlook and sort of intention with people is. It's not to be human and make connections and live, so to speak. It's just freely to profit, abuse, manipulate, and profit.
They profit out of like your expense and your trauma and your suffering. Another myth is that traffickers don't know their victims. Sometimes they can already have an established relationship with their victim. This can include being a family member, parent, or even a work colleague. Finally, it's also a myth that all trafficking victims are from foreign countries. As we've already spoken about, anyone can be a victim of trafficking regardless if they live in a well-developed country or not. And now we're going to get into the types. I could have full episodes dedicated, or we could have full episodes, my apologies. We could have full episodes dedicated to each type of trafficking, which if the girlies want, then we will deliver. But for now, I've gone into detail, but obviously not as much detail if it was like a full episode. Okay, so first one we're going to talk about is sex trafficking. Sex trafficking is defined as, quote, the action or practice of illegally transporting people from one country or area to another for the purpose of sexual exploitation. Polaris Project said, quote, many people in active sex trafficking situations do not recognise themselves as being victims because they have been expertly groomed by the trafficker to believe they have chosen to participate in commercial sex. End quote. Traffickers will prey on individuals who are experiencing difficult times and promise them means and support to change their circumstances. This can include accommodation, clothing, food, money, even down to offering basic love, support and company.
Jeez.
You know, like, that just made me think like love bombing, like the traffickers will probably love bomb their potential victim to entice them. And especially people who, I mean, everyone can be susceptible to this, as we've said 4,000 times, but especially people who are going through, or even if they're just lacking that connection or like relationship with anyone, then obviously they're going to be more susceptible to it. The Metropolitan Police said that, quote, working as prostitutes in pornography, phone sex lines, internet chat rooms, escort agencies, end quote, are the most common forms of sex trafficking. Either all or the majority of the money the victims earn from their services are handed to the trafficker. Elena is a victim of sex trafficking from Romania to the UK. Quote, I had to do the same thing every day, sleep with different men. End quote. When asked how many men she saw each day, Eleanor responded, quote, I'd say around 10 or 20. I was spied on from every angle. He knew everything. How much money we all made, how we made it. In a day, I was making £1,000. All the money I made, I gave to him.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Literally a sex slave, but... Well, it is, but...
It is.
Someone else is profiting off of it.
Yeah. Well, that is
it's not for like, it's not like a personal. Yeah. The exchange, I didn't know this. The exchange of sexual services for money is legal in the UK, excluding Northern Ireland. However, some related activities are illegal under the Sexual Offences Act 2003. Because, do you remember that documentary I was just talking about? The one in...
About the street in Leeds?
Yeah. Wait, they made sex work, like, legal there. I mean...
that's why I assumed it was legal already.
No, because, I mean, at the end anyway, it said that they trialled it, but then I think they might have stopped it or something like that. So I thought, and I even before that, I thought, it's just illegal anywhere. But it's not. A brothel is when a premises that is used by more than one person for sex work. As they're illegal, it's caused an increase in pop-up brothels. This is where properties are rented or hired on a short-term basis. This includes private renting, holiday homes and Airbnbs. This allows the brothels to run and then move, decreasing the risk of them being detected. On the 3rd of April 2025, BBC News reported that brothel owners Yuan Hang, Lina Wang and Chung Fu Wang were arrested by Kent Police and jailed with different sentences. The highest sentence was 5 years, 8 months. The report states that women were trafficked into the UK and forced into sex work in order to pay off family debts.
I mean, we've said it time and time again now about, like, these sentences always being too short for the crime. But, like, fucking hell, man.
But if you own a freaky fire stick, you get, like, 5 years. But if you traffic women into the UK and exploit them, you get the same amount of time. Same
level of criminal, apparently.
Or if you're a Just Stop Oil protester, so you protest in the road, which is, well, where's your right? It's kind of slowly being taken away. Then you get, I don't know how many years they've got, but I mean, oh God, that's another rabbit hole to go down, but Jesus. On the 8th of April 2025, another BBC report states that 2 arrests had been made after a number of suspected brothels were raided in Nottingham. While some brothels operate in private property, others hide in plain sight. Medium reports that, quote, many massage parlours in the UK are actually brothels, end quote. While not every massage parlour is a brothel, facilitated by sex trafficking and exploitation, there are signs to distinguish a genuine parlour to a brothel. Some signs include providers wearing very little clothing, they refuse to service females, they're living in the parlour and they're not allowed to handle their own cash. OurRescue.org states that, quote, illicit massage parlours were the second most common identified type of sex trafficking. And that's what I have encompassed for sex trafficking. That is literally just scratching the surface.
Yeah, but I've tried it's such a big topic, isn't it?
Yeah, I've tried to like give like at least one case within each thing. So the next one we're going to do is forced labour. Forced labour is internationally defined as all work or service which is exacted from any person under the threat of a penalty and for which the person has not offered themselves voluntarily. Forced labour is a form of modern-day slavery. Victims are coerced or deceived into working for little or no pay. Someone else controls and receives their earnings, or like in other instances of trafficking, are forced to work off excessive or illegitimate debts. Forced labour was the second most common form of modern-day slavery reported to the Home Office in the UK. There were 16,432 victims between October 2019 and June 2024. Worldwide, forced labour affects at least 27.6 million people. The most common industries where forced labour is found include domestic work, construction, manufacturing and sex work. The Salvation Army says that when services or products are suspiciously cheap, it could be as it's linked to forced labour. This is what I mean by saying that it just like hides in plain sight. So if you don't think it's happening in your ends, it probably is, love.
That's
I mean, it's
so
happening everywhere.
Scary. It's so scary though, isn't it? That it really is just sort of in sort of infesting every sort of industry.
Yeah. Car washes in the UK are a particular hotspot for modern day slavery to take place. Karel was originally from Poland when he was offered a job opportunity to the UK. However, it turned out to be in a car wash, and he was forced to work long hours, earning little to no money. If he was to confront his traffickers, he was met with threats of being kicked out of the small caravan he was forced to live in. Corral also had his ID and other documents confiscated. So this is what I mean by saying, why don't you just leave? Well, number one, where's he going to go? Number two, does he speak English? I'm not saying that to be offensive, but if he does leave, is he able to communicate with someone that he's in danger? He's had his ID stolen, so he can't just fly back. He's got no money, so he can't just fly back. Like, it's such hostage. A stupid question.
Yeah, exactly.
As well as this, threats were made towards him and his family back in Poland. However, after 8 months, Corral fled the conditions and reported the slavery to the police, and he was then referred to the Salvation Army, which is a UK charity, and placed into a safe house where he began to rebuild his life. Another instance of modern-day slavery in the UK, in UK car washes, was the death of Sandu Laurentiu. After a long day of working at Bubbles in East London, he returned to his rat-infested flat that was provided by his employer, Shaib Nimani. Nimani had tampered with the wiring in the house, making the fuses not blow despite being overloaded. Sandu went for a shower and was instead electrocuted as there was damp in the bathroom.
That's just... Oh, man. I hate this, right? Because it sounds like I'm just saying the same thing, but, like, you do just lose words eventually in how you can articulate how this shit is.
Yeah. Oh, that's awful. Like, no one should ever be subjected to live in squalor conditions, and obviously no one should be forced to be a slave or be a slave. It's reported that any car wash that costs less than £6 could be funding modern slavery. Sussex Police has a page on how to spot the signs of modern slavery. Victims can appear malnourished, withdrawn, or show signs of physical, psychological abuse. They can seem under control, unable to travel alone, and rarely interact with others. It is extremely common for victims to be reluctant to seek or receive help. The threats the traffickers have placed upon them, as well as their family, pose too much of a risk. So next we have forced criminality.
Ooh.
Forced criminality is when a victim is trafficked and then forced or coerced into committing criminal acts for economic or other gains of traffickers or exploiters. The National Crime Agency reported that, quote, 95% of all known criminal exploitation offenders are British, Romanian or Lithuanian, end quote. It's important to note that those who are forced into committing illegal activity are victims of exploitation and should be treated as such.
Yeah.
The crimes victims are forced to engage in vary, from growing, transporting drugs, making scam calls, selling counterfeit items or forced begging, and we'll touch on forced begging in part 2. Mm-hmm. In the UK, homegrown cannabis has increased while imported cannabis has decreased. The plants need regular watering as well as intense heat to grow. Cases where victims are forced to maintain the plants are victims of modern slavery. The NCA, which is the National Crime Agency, reports that, quote, victims are predominantly from Vietnam, but more recently Albania, end quote. County lines is another form of forced criminal activity. County lines is when illegal drugs are transported from one area to another, usually by children or vulnerable people. And I do have county lines on our topic list to do. The majority of forced criminality victims in the UK are British. 45% of all victims under criminal exploitation referred to the Home Agency were British boys aged under 17. That's awful, isn't it?
I was going to say, it's more youth, isn't it?
Like, and as well, I hope, I mean, I don't think they do, but I hope to God they don't, like, have that on their record, because that's, like, going to impact the rest of their life.
Yeah, I think it depends on who's prosecuting them, because it wouldn't surprise me if some people did just have it there.
Yeah, I mean, especially if they're caught with drugs.
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me, but it shouldn't work that way.
No.
The NCA also report that young men who are homeless are at higher risk of being recruited by traffickers. Traffickers can linger around shelters, food banks, and other safe houses in aim of selling a dream to victims, offering them quick cash-in-hand jobs, but the small job turns out to be criminal activity. Once a victim is recruited, like any form of trafficking, it's extremely hard for the victim to escape. And I think it's also been said 1,000 times, obviously not by us in this episode, but once you're in, like, the drug world, it's so hard to get out of.
Yeah. So once you're in, you can't really get out.
Yeah.
They've got you.
I mean, I have watched Drugs Inc. for many, many years. And, like, I remember there was a mom who did a deal once, and then she was, like, forced to do a deal, like, once a month. Like, she was driving from America to Mexico, so obviously she had to go through, like, customs and stuff, and she had, like, loads of coke stashed in her car. And she literally said, like, once you're in it, you just can't get out.
Yeah, it's one of those.
And next we have forced marriage. The UK government states that, quote, forced marriage is where one or both people do not or cannot consent to the marriage and pressure or abuse is used to force them into the marriage. The definition of forced marriage can vary depending on the country, which is harrowing to think of. And forced marriage is different to an arranged marriage. In an arranged marriage, family members or other people can have influence, but the person still has a say on if they get married to someone or not. So typically in arranged marriage, the family will, like, pick out someone who they think is ideal or someone who they would wish for their child to marry or whoever, their family member. But ultimately, the person still has the decision and say so if they marry them or not.
This is like in our first episode, we had a topic.
Yes, I have that in here. Yeah.
Cheeky little plug there. If you want to go and listen to episode one, maybe don't. Actually. Episode 1 isn't ideal because the quality is just horrific. The case itself is quite good, but if you can bear listening to me sound like I'm in the middle of a car flying through a tunnel with the roof down.
I know, I did listen. I think I listened to episode, I think it might have been episode 1 actually, and I thought, what the fuck? I mean, if you didn't get a mic, we would be on 0 listens.
But also, I remember we finished that and you were like, oh my God, it sounds so good. And I thought, are you joking? Taking the piss.
I don't think my mic was recording either. I think it might have been my iPad mic.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, well.
A relationship can also be recognised as a forced marriage if one of the individuals wants to separate or divorce but is not allowed. Children can also be forced into marriages and can then be referred to as a form of slavery. In our first episode, we talked slightly about forced marriage laws in the UK. Our first episode was about Banaz Mahmood, who was an honour killing victim, and that was just... I mean, we started off on a horrendous note.
We did.
Forced marriage is illegal in the UK, and those who force someone into a marriage can face up to 7 years in prison. If one or both individuals are aged under 18, whether there is no abuse or pressure, it is still viewed as a forced marriage. The Anti-Social Behaviour Act of 2014 also outlines that taking someone abroad to force them into a marriage is illegal. Physical, financial, and/or psychological abuse can be used against individuals. In 2022, justiceandcare.org stated that, quote, an estimated 2 million people in the world are living in forced marriages, 2/3 of whom are women and girls, end quote. People who are forced into marriages are typically subjected to abuse and exploitation. In the UK, government statistics reveal that the Forced Marriage Unit received 802 contacts related to forced marriage and/or possible female genital mutilation in 2023.
Oh, jeez.
And that is just a whole other kettle of fish. That really repulses me. Figures for 2024 haven't been published yet. It is also thought that new regulations could prevent some victims from coming forward as they don't want to have their parents or family members go to prison. Ruby Marie was forced into a marriage when she was 15 years old. Once married, Ruby says that she was raped almost every day by her husband, aged 30.
Oh, God.
Yeah. If you ever have any concerns or suspicions, it's encouraged that you contact the UK Modern Slavery and Exploitation Helpline on 0800 012 1700. And that's where we're going to leave for part 1. In part 2, shall I list the categories we're going to do?
Yeah, why not give a little tease?
Child trafficking, child begging, child forced labour, child sexual exploitation, illegal adoption, and organ harvesting.
Illegal adoption? I never heard of that before. Ooh.
Yes, so part 2 is going to be a bit dark, and I'm going to quickly announce this to the girlies. I have started researching the dark web. I'm obviously going to have it done in time. And then, I'm going to say this now, so I have to do it. The episode after that is going to be Silk Road. And I was thinking, I might do another one, but we've been doing a lot of death and a lot of child involved cases, and I think maybe we need one that's not as like, I want to rip my eardrums out because this is awful to listen to. So we're going to do the Silk Road, which I fear Daniel may not know about.
I've not heard of Silk Road, no.
Well, that is going to be a journey. You will hear about it a little bit in the Dark Web episode, but we'll obviously go into more deets in the Dark Web episode.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's it. That's what we've got going on. So I forgot to say this at the start. We've got kind of like a little mini series going on. So we started with the disappearance of Rui Pedro, which led us to the Wonderland Club, which has led us to doing human trafficking and modern day slavery. So we'll finish this next week. The week after that, we're doing the Dark Web. The week after that, we're doing Silk Road. And then we might do a Mordor after that.
So there you go. You got the roadmap laid out.
There we are. That's
that.
Go. That's the order of proceedings.
All right, then.
Shall we teleport?
That was a teleport sound.
Here we are.
Did you like it?
Yeah, it was nice. Oh my god, that was really fucking loud. That also sounds like the TARDIS.
Yeah, but like a bird as well. The birdess.
The birdess. You know what I thought? I thought, what if the TARDIS exploded?
End of the universe.
Okay, I don't really want to think about that because I fear death and war.
Well, no, because that's what happens in Series 5.
What series are we on now?
15.
Oh, but clearly, like, we don't die then.
Well, no, it's because the Doctor saves the world, doesn't he? He does the Big Bang too. Just to quickly spoil Series 5 for you there. Yeah, the TARDIS blows up, so he has to then fly the Pandorica into the exploding TARDIS to create the Big Bang 2.0 and reboot the universe.
But was it really the Big Bang, Daniel?
Yeah.
I mean, it's up for debate, innit? I'm not really fucking bothered.
What else would it have been, though?
I'm on a floating rock right now, and that's all I know.
Yeah. So obviously with this tradition now for the past 6 weeks, I've been doing many Doctor Who reviews, so I'm going to carry that on.
And also with this tradition, I feel every need that you say Doctor Who, I need to go, Doctor Pooh.
Doctor Pooh.
Hey.
Doctor Pooh.
I don't even know where that came from.
It was a song in the 80s or 70s. And they go, Doctor Who. Hey.
Hey.
Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Yeah, awful. So this week's episode, or the week we just had, the week before, this will come out Monday, so we would have just had episode 7, but I'm on episode 6, the Interstellar Song Contest. It was a big Eurovision themed episode. Pretty good.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, pretty good. We're still on bangers for Series 2 so far. Some big reveals, some huge reveals. So spoiler alert for that. But Lois, they bring back the first ever companion. And I don't mean Rose Tyler. No. I mean Susan Foreman.
I was going to say, who the fuck would that be?
1963. Susan Foreman. She's still alive.
They bring her back.
She's alive.
Fuck off. Fuck off.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
All right, Lois, I've lied.
Fuck off.
All right. They brought Susan back, which is
When was she born?
I don't know. No, she was like 18 when the show started, so she'd be in like her 70s, 80s. She plays the Doctor's granddaughter. Yeah, plays the Doctor's granddaughter, and she appears in this episode as a vision, going, "Grandfather, come back, find me, grandfather." And I was like, "Fuck it!" I couldn't believe it. I was buzzing with that. Good episode again. Some minor criticisms of it, though. I wanted a bit more from the companion in this episode. I thought she should have done something, should have reacted a bit more when the Doctor was essentially threatening to kill someone or hurt someone 3 trillion times over. And I thought, you probably should have said something to him there. Probably should have kicked off a little bit. But hey, I'm looking forward to next episode, Wish World, and then the finale, Wish World / The Reality War in cinema.
I was going to say, I have 2 questions.
Fire away.
When is the finale? And is it in Is it in cinemas for everyone?
Yes, it is. Only in the UK, though.
Oh.
31st of May.
At least we have something that no one else has for once.
Yeah, and maybe Russell T Davies will rock up at the cinema again. Who knows?
Oh.
I mean, if he does, I don't think I'd get a photo with him again because I'd feel like I'm a bit weird. But what a highlight of my life that was. That was lovely.
That was iconic. I was going to say what made me have a slight smile. I've been mega stressed this week. I'm doing a sing-song tomorrow, and I don't even want to talk about it because I'll probably just cry. But I have been reading The Butcher and the Wren by Elena, who, obviously, the girlies who know true crime, hosts Morbid. And I'm not going to lie, at the start I was like, oh, it's alright, innit? But part 2, she has gripped my attention, and I am enjoying the book. And I'm only like 70 pages away from finishing it, and I can't wait. Okay, let's do Song of the Week.
My Song of the Week, Lois, is very on theme. It is the Hawaiian roller coaster ride.
Oh my god, what a fucking tune.
Yeah, so I saw Lilo and Stitch 2 days early at a secret screening of the new film. It's not very good, I'm going to be honest with you. If you want to watch Lilo and Stitch, just watch the original. However, Hawaiian roller coaster ride it gets me emotional. I won't lie to you, there's something about that song that really tickles me.
They've had the same children's chorus. Yeah.
It's cool, isn't it?
What one do you want in the playlist? The new one or the OG?
Ooh, I don't know. Let's go with the OG.
The OC. The OG.
The OG. Hawaiian roller
coaster ride. My song of the week, and also for my life, is We Can't Be Friends, Wait for Your Love, but the string version instrumental. Honest to God,
twist.
when I am dying, please play that at my bedside. When I have my funeral, please blast that throughout the whole fucking thing. Honest to God, this song, the song and the string version instrumental is possibly my all-time favourite song. It's just... I
love a good string instrumental. I love anything like that.
Oh my God, Daniel, it's so beautiful. Honest to God, it's the most beautiful... oh God, I can't. I just love it. It's just so good. I love it. Look at it. I just love it. I love it. So yeah, that's my song. It's just perfection. It really, truly is. So I've done 2 Ariana songs in a week. Next week I need to do a different.
Yeah, you need to switch it up. See, I'm trying to do everything differently, you know.
Well, my apologies, Daniel, but I have to go with the flow. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but change it up.
Yeah, well, I have before, but next week I'll try and give a non-Ariana one.
Nice. Well,
have you got anything else to discuss? You can go over some things that made you smile if you want.
No, not really.
All right, like all beans.
It's a bit of a bleak week, to be honest. Not bleak week, but nothing. Nothing amazing's happened really, so it's not been anything really to report home. Nothing to write home about.
That's fair enough. Anyway, girlies, that's it for today's episode. We truly hope you enjoyed it as much as it was possible. If you did, please feel free to leave us a rating. That would be truly greatly appreciated.
And also share with your mates.
Yes.
I figured we'd add that in there now.
Phone.
Yeah.
Share it with your friends. Tell your girlies. Tell your loved ones.
Tell your mum.
Tell whoever you fucking like. And also, if you would like to follow us on our socials, our Instagram is Choosing the Bear and our TikTok is Choosing the Bear Pod. Thank you ever so much for listening. We'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.
Take care of yourself, lovies. We'll see you next week now, girlies. Ta-ta.
All right, Chuck. Bye-bye.
Ta-ta. Ta-ta, bye, Chuck. I love that saying, Chuck.